Money. What an important topic for many people. And all because they are constantly short of this money and are forced to work hard for it. But even the most courageous and desperate work does not allow people to have as much money as they need to live well, to live the way they want. Because it is not about how much you work and not even about how much you earn, but about what you know about money. This site, my friends, will become your window into the world of money and will allow you to learn things about money that you will most likely not learn anywhere else. The author, that is, me, does not know so much about money to claim that he has some sacred knowledge in this area. But at the same time, my experience and my life allow me to claim that the knowledge about money that I have is of particular value. For it is they that allow me to live the life that I like. Starting with this article, I will tell you about money and everything connected with it, from the position of a person who has experienced poverty, relative material well-being, and financial independence. I will show you what knowledge people who have successfully settled in this world of money have and will help you master financial literacy without unnecessary, in my opinion, difficulties. Let's start with the basics, with money. Money is much more than some people think. Everything that the average person knows about it does not allow you to know the full power and might of money, as well as the weaknesses of this resource. Therefore, most people do not know how to properly handle money so that it serves them, and does not rule over them. In this article, I will tell you things about money without which you simply will not be able to navigate this world of money, which is such because in the vast majority of cases, money plays a decisive role in it. You can buy a lot and many people with them, you can gain power with them, and thanks to them you can live very, very well. But they can also cause a lot of harm. Let's see what money is, and how you can take control of this powerful force. What is money? Because in nature money does not exist, it was invented by man. Then first of all, money is a very good idea that made our lives easier. Thanks to money, we made the exchange of goods and services between ourselves a much more convenient process. And money has become a means of exchange for us and the most liquid commodity, thanks to which we can get everything or almost everything in this world. If we look even deeper, we can say that money is time, knowledge, skills, and energy that a person gives for this resource. That is, all these things are converted into money, and money is converted into them. But the most important thing about money is that people believe in it. It is faith in money that gives it truly powerful force. A person who believes in money can be ready to do absolutely anything for it. Some people will sell their own mother for money, which means they can be used for any purpose. Corrupt people are the material embodiment of the power of money. Well, since the power of money is based on faith in it, then what prevents us from calling it something like a religion that determines the form of public consciousness? Nothing prevents us, because that is how it is. Many people have worshipped the golden calf for a long time, and they still worship it today. For them, money is God, whom they are ready to serve unquestioningly. And God is the law by which this world exists. Let's focus on this definition of the word. As a result, we can say that people believe in the law by which money works and serves it. But not all people are ready to believe in the idea of money and in the money itself, especially in other people's money, and sell themselves for it. There are quite smart people who have their own ideas on this matter and can invent their own money in order to come to power with its help. Therefore, those who already have power can use violence to suppress and destroy those who do not want to believe in their money and obey them. Therefore, we can also say that money is also violence, which also gives it power. Some people recognize this or that money not because they believe in it and consider it valuable, but because they are afraid to oppose something to its issuers. Thus, this money religion, like many other religions, cannot do without violence, which is necessary to maintain its authority. Any power relies on violence to one degree or another, and the power of money is no exception. All the good that money gives us is unthinkable without the bad that it contains. Why do we need money? Let's think more closely about why we need money in order to understand our need for it. It would seem that the answer to this question is quite simple. Naturally, money is needed to exchange goods and services with its help. In short, it is needed for the economy. But if you dig deeper, it turns out that money is a kind of part of our culture, thanks to which we have the opportunity to live in a civilized world and cooperate with each other on generally mutually beneficial terms. That is, money makes people more humane because it allows them to cooperate with each other. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Usually we are used to hearing that money spoils people, that because of it people can do a lot of evil to each other. However, it is not money that is to blame, but the bestial nature of man. If there were no money, people would still be smashing each other's skulls in the fight for various resources. But thanks to money, we have a more or less acceptable economy, we trade with each other, we look for opportunities to interest each other in order to sell something, we improve the quality of goods and services in order to conquer markets, and so on. So money is not just a trading tool, it is also an element of culture, thanks to which people behave more or less civilized. Money is needed for an orderly, stable, and reasonable way of life. Well, the fact that people can do evil because of it is already the problem of the people themselves and in some cases of improper work of money, when, for example, in some societies some people have a lot of money, while others have little, and such a strong stratification gives rise to social tension. But the money itself has absolutely nothing to do with it. The laws by which people live, or their non-observance, or even the absence of them, are to blame. Money is just a tool that a person either knows how to use, or does not know how to use. Therefore, it is necessary to understand that if there is no money, uncultured, aggressive, evil people will tear each other's throats out over something else. How does money work? Despite the wording of the question, it is necessary to understand that money itself does not work at all. It simply cannot do this. In a series of its inanimate, it is just paper or numbers in a computer that means some conventional value. Of course, it is always people who work, driven by the idea of money and the need for it, or who follow, figuratively speaking, a banknote hanging in front of their nose, like a donkey following a carrot hanging in front of its nose. Therefore, the work of money is in fact the work of people for this money. Money motivates a person to act, and, therefore, motivates him to work, no matter what kind, any work is needed. So if you do not go into various financial subtleties, which does not always make sense for an ordinary person who wants to learn how to manage his money, then the work of money in general looks quite simple. When you direct your money somewhere, spend it on something, you stimulate someone's activity. With your money, you can develop one business and ruin another, or prevent some business from starting. For example, if you spend money on alcohol, cigarettes, and various kinds of entertainment, then there will be more establishments offering people such goods and services in your area. There is demand, there will be supply. After all, you must agree, it makes sense to do what people are willing to pay for. And if you are interested, say, in education, cultural leisure, a healthy lifestyle, then, accordingly, these areas will become a priority for business. And in your area there will be more, well, say, libraries or some modern computer centers. And there will be no one to buy pig swill, so what's the point of selling it? So, what you pay for is what you get, that's the logic. Naturally, we are talking about mass demand for a particular product or service, and not about the demand of just one person, even if he is quite wealthy. That is why it makes sense to impose, or, to put it more mildly, to advertise certain interests, lifestyles, ideas, and goals to people. The better the quality of the society, the smarter the money that circulates in it, that is, the work done for money in such a society is smarter. Of course, it also happens that supply creates demand. This is also a common phenomenon. But I can tell you for sure that if people do not buy something, it will be pointless to trade it. Therefore, the way money works is still largely determined by the consumer. Thus, your money works the way you want it to. This may be a big word, especially in our country, where people are constantly forced to do something, but you should still be aware of your power, that you are constantly voting for something with your money. Your money will multiply and develop what you invest it in, what you spend it on, where you direct it. Some people think that business and the state determine their demand, but they only buy what they are offered. This, I repeat, is partly true, but only because people cannot act in a coordinated and reasonable manner. People have much more power than they think. But they have one big problem: they are, as a rule, not united. And, accordingly, they cannot coordinately direct their money in one direction or another. People are irrational by nature, therefore they are susceptible to advertising, thoughtlessly selfish, inconsistent in their decisions. In general, they behave stupidly, and that is why they suffer. And if, for example, cheap vodka is put on sale in stores, then most people will most likely drink themselves to death. The temptation to get affordable pleasure will outweigh all reasonable arguments against this pleasure. Sane people will not swallow this pig swill even for free. But such people are few, very few. Therefore, in most cases, it is such people, smart, reasonable, cunning, who decide how money will work in a particular society. Remember, there are always someone's ideas and interests behind the work of money, or, in other words, someone's brains. For money, you can buy the work of a murderer, or the work of an engineer, the work of a destroyer, or the work of a creator, the work of a scoundrel, or the work of a decent person. The work of these people will express the work of money, or the work of these people will be expressed in the work of money, depending on who dictates the terms, the owner of the money or the one who is ready to work for it. There is one more point that I want to draw your attention to when talking about the work of money. Money can also stimulate inactivity. For example, if you give to a beggar, then with your money you fuel a similar method of obtaining money, which has long since become a big business with a criminal tint. And it's not even that the beggar may not really need your money, but that he does nothing for this money. I don't want to touch on the idea of social Darwinism, but if a person does not bring benefit to society, then forgive me, why do we need him? Of course, there are children, old people who cannot work, but who will either start working in the future. This is about children, or may simply be dear to those who work. This is about old people. Disabled people also seem to have grounds to ask for money, but often they can be used, which means this needs to be done so that people work, so that they bring benefit to society. Any dependency morally and physically corrupts society. Man, by nature, is a lazy creature, so if something stimulates his laziness, he will certainly latch onto it. Therefore, you should not direct money to someone's inactivity. If you want to help people, give them a fishing rod, not a fish. To sum it up, let's say once again that money doesn't work, so don't take this expression too literally. It motivates people to work, who are willing to do or not do something for money. And understanding this, you can also understand that you can motivate a person to act in many other ways, for example, by force or cunning. Simply with money, this is usually the easiest thing to do in our time. That is why money plays such an important role in civilization. What is the power of money? It is very important to understand what the power of money is, so as not to be subject to it, but to control it. Many people say that money is power, that money rules the world, that everything can be bought and sold, and so on and so forth. But what is this power? Not everyone understands this. But the answer is obvious. Let's imagine that you are offered $1 million to, for example, set up your friend. Will you do it? Let's assume that you do, because the money is big, and you don't care about your friend. With that kind of money you will find new friends. What will happen in this case? A very simple thing: you will sell yourself for $1 million. You will submit to the money and do what the person who offered you this money needs. This is how the power and authority of money is manifested. Your submission to it, your willingness, well, if not everything, then a lot to do for it, this is its power. But it is not money that has this power, but the idea that is embedded in it. After all, if I offered you not $1 million, but 1,000,000 rubles, my offer would no longer be so attractive, right? For 1,000,000 rubles, people are ready to do much less than for $1 million. And if I draw you some of my own money and offer to do something for it, then what? Will you obey me? I think it is unlikely that you will perceive my money as money at all. Although, if you think about it, how is it different from dollars? Because if everyone believes in them, everyone accepts them as a means of payment, then they will become the same liquid commodity as dollars. But for this, you need to believe in them and accept them. And so, it turns out, not all money is ready to be recognized by people, because there must be some other force behind money: military, political, economic, cultural. Then this money will be believed in and recognized. After all, if some smart guy does not want to recognize such money, and even decides to issue his own money, convincing everyone of its value, then we will have to break his horns so that he does not encroach on the instrument of power. This is what military power is for. However, a strong idea can subjugate physical force, but such an idea still needs to be invented and introduced to the masses. Now, cryptocurrency is gaining momentum, and who knows, maybe in the future it will really create some kind of revolution in the field of finance. How is money made? Making money is one of the most important tasks for most adults. The most common way to solve this issue is to work for hire. And in most cases, this is the worst, most unprofitable option. Of course, work can be different, as well as wages and the responsibility that lies with the employee. You can get a pretty good job and live like you're in the bosom of Christ. But in most cases, a worker is an impersonal biomass, the property of the employer, which he can dispose of as he wishes. All these labor codes and other crap, even in civilized countries, do not improve the life of an employee much. And in backward, gangster countries, this is an empty formality. In such countries, a worker is a slave who has no rights, only responsibilities. And no one and nothing protects him. For example, what good is a trade union that is part of an enterprise? They give gifts once or twice a year and they are shitty. Well, maybe they'll give you a cheaper vacation package, and that's it. Otherwise, they can't help the worker in any way if, for example, his rights are violated. And they are constantly violated. But that's not even the point. In most cases, hired work does not contribute to the development of a person as an individual. It depersonalizes him and turns him into a well-oiled mechanism, the task of which is to obediently carry out other people's orders. Choosing this path, you turn into a cowardly dog on a chain, which is forced to carry out commands and throw a bone into a bowl on schedule. These are the people who need this shitty pseudo-stability and social security. These people cannot feed themselves, they need a stall to live. Thus, hired work turns a person into a plant, in the vast majority of cases. This, I repeat, is the shittiest way to make money. Unfortunately, many of us are forced to go this way, because the education system, and upbringing, and stupid parents prepare us for this. They break us for this task. And if you work for someone, then on good terms. And for this, you need to be a cool, sought-after specialist. And to become one, you need to study a lot and well. I don't take into account all sorts of privileged places where a person can be stuck. This is something that does not always depend on us. Business and entrepreneurship are a more profitable way to make money. Such a life path implies that you will work for yourself and/or force other people to work for you. In underdeveloped countries, where the government behaves quite aggressively towards its own people, business is not always and not everywhere, but most importantly, not everyone finds it easy and profitable to do business. Those who have the support of a shaggy hand, those are well settled, those who do not, can constantly experience difficulties. But still, the difference between even a very small business and hard work is big. A person engaged in business looks at the world in a completely different way, especially if his business requires flexibility and not constant performance of the same actions. Most businessmen can be called hunters who do not sit on a chain and wait for a bone, but get their own food. They have no guarantees, but their loot can be much more substantial than that of those who feed from their hands. When you earn money this way, you see, feel and understand that much in this life depends on you. And this is a great achievement, to think so. If we simplify the understanding of what business is, we can say that it is trade. It has always been a profitable occupation. Agree, trading is better than fighting. And it does not matter whether we are talking about production and trade, or about mediation, everything has a place in this world. Trade calls for cooperation, even if we are talking about wars between competitors. All the same, when you trade, you create more than destroy. In a civilized world, even partially, everything is tied to trade. Even politics in our time depends more on trade than on the military power of the state. Trade is beneficial to everyone. And if you are a good professional in this business, you will never disappear anywhere. You will always have money. It is not about becoming an ordinary salesperson who, as I say, sits at his point and sits on eggs like a hen. It is about the ability to negotiate with people and make deals, to interest people. This is competent work with people. Success in many matters, and, consequently, a person's well-being, depends on the ability to work with people, to communicate with them. Money can also be obtained through theft, fraud, banditry, parasitism. This is everything that is connected with power. Although, in fairness, we must admit that power in its various manifestations is far from always, and not in everything, a parasite. Without power, there will be no society in which money can be obtained in different ways. I will not analyze all these ways of obtaining money now. We will talk about them in more detail in other articles. The main thing here is to understand the meaning of each of the directions. Then, if you are still young, you can tune in to go through the most suitable life path for you. However, if you are old, then you can still turn aside and try to do something that you have never done before. The success of such a change of course is not guaranteed, but it is possible. So, to earn money, you need to decide what you are ready to do for it and what you can do for it. Money is your work. And your work is your skills, knowledge, and time. You give all of this for money when you do something for it. It is very important to understand this, because understanding what you sacrifice for money will allow you to skillfully convert your work, your time, your knowledge, and your whole life in general into the amount of money you need. Some activities are so unpromising that by spending your time and energy on them, you deprive yourself of the opportunity to really earn good money. You should never be afraid to start something new, change a shitty job, move to another place, start a new business, and so on. Earn money in different ways, then you will feel confident and will be able to achieve success in different things more often. After all, the constant search for more profitable options will definitely lead to something better. And contrary to popular belief, the best is not the enemy of the good, but the good is the enemy of the best. The idea of money: sometimes you hear statements that money is evil and that it needs to be gotten rid of so that people can live in peace and harmony. Many people believe in such nonsense. At least they really do consider money to be evil, most often because they don't have it. But money is not evil and never has been. True evil is man, his dark side. Moreover, man is the highest degree of evil and the worst evil on this planet, and perhaps in the entire universe. It is from him, from a bipedal upright creature, that the most troubles and suffering in this world come. And if it weren't for the benefit that people can bring to each other if they treat them correctly, there would be no point in such a creature at all. And money is just one of man's ideas, and far from the worst. With its help, man has simplified his life and made it more interesting. And the fact that people can do evil because of money is a trifle. People can do evil because of many things. By removing money from their lives, you will not remove the source of evil itself, a person. So I think that you have to be a complete ignoramus or a cynic to shift responsibility for your mistakes onto money. At the same time, we must not forget that people can also do good for money. This is when their bright side makes itself known. Money can be compared to fuel that pushes a person to certain actions. If you season money with a good idea, a person will strive for good; if bad, then for bad. Money itself, as an idea, makes a person active. For its sake, a person strives for knowledge, cooperation, making connections that give strength and power, and that in turn allows you to get even more money. For money, people can do a lot for you, driven not so much by themselves as by the idea of money itself, which is ultimately expressed in the good that can be purchased with money. Someone wants a new car, someone a house, someone just needs to buy food for themselves. And for this, people do something, in most cases, something more or less useful for others. Some people love money itself; their attention is focused on money, and not on what it is needed for, because money acts on the subconscious as something that just needs to be had in life, and in very large quantities, even when a person does not feel a real need for money. This is not a problem. If a person is zombified by money, then he can be easily controlled with its help. You just have to wave it in front of his nose, and he will stand on his hind legs in front of you and will be ready to carry out any of your commands. The only question is what your command will be. So, as you can see, money is generally a good idea, based on faith, and for many people the only goal in life. Any other idea could take its place, but, as you can see, it does not exist. Or rather, other ideas are not so strong and easy to implement. People love the idea of money because it is simple and understandable. Even if some of them are against money, if you give it to them, they will immediately change their mind. I am absolutely sure of it. The stomach is more important. This is what the overwhelming majority thinks. The price of money. Money can have a very high price. Because money can take away a person's freedom and even life, or rather, it can become the reason for this if it takes over a person's will and mind so strongly that he loses the sense of reality in pursuit of it. Take debts, for example. How many people have suffered because they borrowed money and were unable to pay it back? This has been, is, and will be. But there is not always a need to get into debt. Sometimes people borrow money only because they can, and not because they really need it. And how many people risk their health, life for the sake of money, when they do dangerous work or participate in senseless conflicts? Is the price of money always justified in such cases? You can't take it to the grave with you, and with poor health, you can't really enjoy it. But when a person is so obsessed with money that he does not understand anything, he is ready to give everything for it, not realizing that such a high price devalues the money itself. I hope that those people who read this article and all subsequent articles on this site will understand money, treat it and handle it not as most people do, who are essentially slaves to money, but more competently, restrainedly and effectively. Money can give a person freedom, but it can also deprive him of it. It can make us happy, but it can drive us crazy. Everything depends on the person himself, on what decisions he makes in relation to both the money itself and the ways of getting it. Without the right knowledge about money, you will not become a happy and free person in this world, even if you manage to get rich. But most likely, you will never become rich if you do not understand that this world of money submits to those who do not submit to money.